be voting no on any action until we get a clarification, redefinition, and a clear understanding of precisely what we accomplish, and to cast it in terms of it's a redevelopment agency, stupid kind of notion. I'm not sure that redevelopment leads to the kind of development that we actually need, so I will be voting no on this, which is consistent with prior positions I've taken on it.
Thank you, Supervisor Kovac. Supervisor Pinches.
I agree with your concerns, Supervisor Colfax, but in matter of fact, I don't think I would have voted for the formation of the redevelopment agency if I was in that.
Well, you would have voted with me then at that time.
Yeah, but I look at this as a way to get the matching funds, hopefully to move the North State Road Improvement Project along, which is real important. I'm just a little bit disappointed that you know, we took on a new project and set money aside for a new project because there wasn't an application for the North State Street project on the STIP list of applications from the county. So, you know, we deal with what we have applications for. And so now the next day I see where it's kind of like, in my opinion, if you're looking for road dollars funding, you put your application every place you can.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had originally I had the same question that Supervisor Pinches did, because we didn't have the information about what funds were available, what had accrued over time, and we did get that answer from the CEO that the total amount is somewhere in the ballpark of $600,000. So I think it would be premature at this point, without the board having a better overview. It's just coming to us as a new item, that it would be better to hold off and wait for an allocation until we have that larger discussion. So the board is setting priorities of the expenditures, and we're putting the items forward in the most appropriate funding stream that's there. So I don't think I can support it at this time. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's premature to ask for, you know, 80 or 90% of the funds to be expended before we have a discussion about what's the status of the redevelopment agency that appears that has really suffered from neglect, at least the period of time I've been on the board. And until we have that larger discussion, I don't think we have a context to make the decision. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Further discussion, we do have a motion for approval and a second on the floor before us. Any change in that direction? Not there yet, John. Okay, while you're mulling that over, I'll take public comment from Mr. John McCowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I would just like to say that this project is ideally suited as an economic development project funded by redevelopment. Whenever we constitute a redevelopment agency, we always say the intention is to address blighted conditions. And we have our blight expert go out and take photos of all the substandard infrastructure, which in this case includes a road that is falling apart, that has inadequate shoulders, that has bridges that are too narrow. And so this is the first step in laying the groundwork to make it a desirable and attractive area for private parties to invest. So I think this is entirely appropriate, and I urge your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCowan. I have not spoken up. I'm going to be in favor of this, but I think it's clear to the CEO's office that we do need a snapshot of where we are with the redevelopment, some updated education on the board's part, and an overall general discussion. I don't believe it's warranted to hold this project up at this point, but I do need, and I believe the rest of the board needs, an educational aspect to this for an updating and a snapshot. So I'm going to be in favor of this motion just to help qualify the project for additional funding. And I too do believe that this is a way to develop economic development. You, at times, need to spend money to make money. And that's as simple as this project is, and that's the request. Mr. CEO.
And we will be covering the issue in our March 17th Economic Development Workshop that we have scheduled for the board already. It's our intent to spend a great deal of time in there talking about the RDA and what its potential is for projects.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further discussion from the board? Okay, I'll call for a vote on this issue. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, I do believe it passed on a 3-2 vote. Okay. Okay, so that closes the redevelopment, excuse me, is there any additional redevelopment action to be taken today, Mr. CEO? Okay, so we'll close the meeting of the Mendocino County Redevelopment Agency, and we'll convene sitting as the Mendocino County Water Agency, item 11B. Mr. Sanford.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Roland Sanford. I'm with the Water Agency.
Okay.
There you go.
Agenda item 11B is the North Coast in-stream flow policy. Since this agenda item was prepared, there are some late-breaking events. The purpose of today's agenda item was to basically encourage the board to request authorization to submit a letter to the State Water Resources Control Board requesting an extension of time to review the North Coast in-stream flow policy. Now, last week, they went ahead and granted an extension to May 1st, 2008, as opposed to the original deadline, which was, I think, February 19th, 2008. So we do have additional time now to actually look at this policy a little more carefully. I can't say at this point that staff has gone through all the details of it. It is a very lengthy policy. There's something like 600 to 700 pages of supporting documents associated with it. I will say this at this time, and that is that these guidelines, the concern is that are they so restrictive that they will, in terms of what can happen or not happen in terms of water diversions, are they so restrictive that it will force people into what I'll call creative solutions, which may in fact prove more detrimental to fish, people, and the environment. And I think that's one of the fundamental questions here. What are some of the land use impacts associated with if this policy is adopted? And again, we're grateful to have that extension of time, so there's no longer a need to submit a letter requesting an extension of time. And I think if the board would like, we can certainly agendize this again to staff can go over after they've had a chance to review the document and go over some of the key points here.
Okay. Questions, Supervisor Pinches?
First of all, the local paper reported that the Eel River was in, but the real Eel River drainage is in fact out of this
That's correct.
policy boundary, right?
That's correct. The
I
Eel River
wanted
is
to
not.
bring it. Yeah, the Eel River's not in. That's important for the news media.
Yeah,
There is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 1 o'clock in Santa Rosa.
that's correct.
What's our game? I mean, I think we need to attack this early on, and shouldn't we be talking today? This letter now is a non-issue, but what is our, being as we are the water agency, can we talk about what should be our game plan for this policy? I mean, I think we need to take early action to oppose it, and I don't think we need to wait. You know, I mean, what are you going to make some comments tomorrow, or who's going down? What's going to be our early game plan here?
Tomorrow's meeting is at the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board offices in Santa Rosa, and it is being